Today, if I'm gonna be honest, I actually got a lot of anxiety today. Believe it or not, I make music from East Orange, New Jersey, and currently working on a project right now. And I got a lot of angst with the project only because I want it to sound as amazing as it should sound. I'm real confident in a lot of the stuff that I do with my music, but this project for me is a little bit deeper because it's touching on a space in my life that I feel like I don't talk about much. Love for me is a difficult topic at times. It's easy to put out love, it's easy to receive love. However, for me at times it is difficult to talk about when love kind of goes in a different direction. And I feel like that's been on my mind since the start of the day, since yesterday, since a week ago, since a month ago. I got a lot of anxiety. Love gives me anxiety because like when it ends, it's hard for me to really conceptualize and talk about. It's something at times that I tend to put to the back when it's not going right. I feel like when love doesn't go right for me, I almost feel as if like I'm a failure in a sense. Because again, I grew up in a home where that was the core foundation. And through this project, I'm examining like relationships with two individuals that, meant a lot to me, meant to mean a lot to me. And it's hard because I have to explicitly be honest about the good, the bad, and everything in the middle. And that's not an easy thing to do. When you look at relationships, sometimes you focus on the good, but there's also sometimes, I don't want to call it the bad, but the not so good parts of relationships. And that gives me a lot of angst. Like I have to literally look at myself in the mirror as I break down what went awry in certain situations. Imagine waking up and telling yourself like, yo, due to the situation at hand, you got this one option where you can go and build what you really want to build with the person you've been with forever, or you can go and pursue your dreams. Because me, I'm a lover. If I hopped into that space over there, there's a good possibility that I don't achieve my dream. I just know how I am. I know how obsessive I get with my work. And I know what it takes to love an individual. I feel like, I would have ultimately turned my back on it. It's feel a little nutty to even admit, but like I picked my dream when it came down to it because I felt like that was something that was just gnawing at me forever. And I had to realize that I was so locked in on this space, I didn't even think I was capable to be whatever it was I thought I was trying to be for an individual. So like, that's what it comes down to with this fleeting dream. It's the idea that none of this is promised, yet we promise ourselves to work as hard as we can to achieve something we're not even sure is achievable. Music has probably been ingrained in me since I was a kid. My grandfather on my mama's side used to sing Whitney Houston, and on my father's side, his dad's brother was a part of a music group. So since I was a kid, music has always been something that I've loved. And I feel like throughout most of my life, I spent a long time not trying to accept that that was a path for me. I graduated from college. I went to work in a hospital, and I kind of put that on the back burner because I felt like music was everything to me. And as I moved through the space of music, I find that my passion and my purpose started to become bigger and greater in me. Like I felt like there was more purpose in my life, there was more meaning. And as I started to dive more and more into my career, I felt as if my ability to love or the capacity to love individuals became stunted because of my desire to see my passion succeed. I feel like when I discovered music as a passion, it ultimately created a sense of purpose for me that kind of aligned everything. So that sense of pride that I felt in myself wasn't born from a place of self-love, but it was born from a place of like discovering purpose. Now, the issue with that a lot of times is when you don't have the strongest form of self-love in yourself, and you develop it based on like your job, like your identity is based on your job. What happens is you start to form relationships that A, may be superficial or not as meaningful, and B, you may not be operating in a space or a way that is the most truthful to yourself. And I feel like through cross-examining my life and my passion and a lot of the decisions I made, I've been able to realize that I was indeed lacking a little bit in the space of self-love. You know, I had a lot happen to me within the last year that made me reevaluate whether or not I wanted to continue in this music stuff, if I was good enough to continue in this music stuff. And it all came back rooted to the fact that like I needed to love myself more than anything. Like you strip away the music, you strip away all this other stuff. I realized that there was a void forming in me because for a very long time, I had been putting away the idea of loving myself behind everything else. Coming into this space was exciting for me because I realized that like, you know, I had a dream. And in order to achieve that dream, you have to be self-aware. You have to be willing to put the time in and make the, you know, the sacrifices to get to where you are. I think before the sacrifices, it comes from a self-awareness standpoint. If I don't know who I am, how can I grow as a person? That's first and foremost. My self-awareness was born from the desire to want to become a better person because I knew if I was able to combat a lot of the things that I might have rejected internally, if I could work on those things, it would ultimately make me a better human being, first and foremost. And secondly, it would make me a better musician. With that self-awareness, though, it comes with understanding the sacrifices that have to be made. Again, if we go back to who I was before I hopped into the space of the music, I was a people pleaser as a person. I feel like I was really trying to be there for everybody as much as I could be. But with music, it's different. I feel like in order for this to work, I have to be selfish. And that's where a lot of the sacrifices and self-awareness started to arise within myself. Once I realized who I was or realized who I wasn't, in order to get to where I had to get to, I had to make sacrifices, right? Sacrifices, they don't really tell you everything that comes with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always sacrifice, 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 sacrifice this, sacrifice this, sacrifice this, and you'll get to your dream eventually. But like with sacrifice, they don't tell you that like, you know, you miss out on like your homie's like birth of his son because you chasing a placement on some shit in LA. With sacrifice, they don't tell you that like, you know, your cousin that you built this shit with wasn't gonna be around because things didn't work out. Or like with sacrifice, they don't tell you that like, you know, sometimes you and your childhood sweetheart may not see it through all the way because like your paths diverge simply because she wants one thing and you want something entirely different. Like with sacrifice, they don't prepare you for all the things you essentially miss out on in hopes that you get this fleeting dream, you know what I'm saying? So like with understanding sacrifice, it ultimately brought me to a place of self-awareness, realizing that these sacrifices that I'm making are necessary because of what I want. There's a good and bad part to delusion. I think with delusion, it allows me to create a space in which I believe that everything I'm doing is meant to be the bigger cause. And when I look at myself a lot of times, I tell myself every day I'm the greatest motherfucker that ever existed in this shit. But at the same time with delusion, there is a removal from reality that we sometimes have to remind ourselves to be humble. And in the space of that delusion, I think that's where I was able to like realize, okay, I gotta work on certain things. You know what I'm saying? That's where I just started to dial shit back and try to figure out. I think from the delusion, I was able to dial myself back and figure out practices that were more positive to my growth versus just living in that space. Like, again, it's important that you do hype yourself up, but you do need to keep yourself grounded if you really, truly want to grow as a person. Realizing that I can't do everything at once, all at one time is important. Being able to divvy up the work is important. When it comes to delusion, is realizing that I can't spread myself as thin when it comes to like my work and play balance. Like, I work so much to the point that I do a lot of times forget to check up on people and, you know, work on relationships that I know may be strained. With delusion, it's realizing that, yeah, I do have a big ego, but there are points in my life where I have to, you know, take a step back and realize, hey, brother, maybe the way you're operating isn't the best, or maybe it isn't as positive for the future of what you're trying to instill for yourself and what you plan to bring about with the next generation. Man, it comes back to the sacrifice again. It's like the idea of this isn't promise. And I feel like as a competitor, combatant, you know, collaborator within the space, it's risky. Like in all capacities, whether you're an artist, you're an executive, whether you're somebody who's working with artists, somebody who's working within the label or the buildings, it is a risk. And I realized that for me, every day waking up and giving it my all is the best that I can do with something that isn't always attainable or possible for everybody. There's over 200,000 songs, I believe, uploaded to Apple every single day. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of songs. All of us not gonna make it realistically. But I know that with that being the case, all I can do is give my all to it. You know, with most operations that I've ever seen started, at least where I'm from in Jersey, they don't always last as long as they have. For myself though, it's still going. And sometimes I can't help but think like, damn, I wish I could have been there for everybody else, but I just had to keep it going. I want this shit so bad. And sometimes it's really hard to live with the idea that like a lot of folk dropped off and I'm still doing this, but like, that's just how much I love it. Like no matter what, I'm gonna keep doing this shit because it's so much ingrained in just my code as a person. Like I need this to work just as much as I need to like breathe oxygen. And, you know, that's really how I deal with the fleeting dream idea. It's like, regardless, I gotta do this. There's nothing in my life that tells me I can't, I have to stop this. Like I have to do this. Like it's literally a part of everything that I am as a person. If Chris Patrick stopped making music, Chris Patrick is not himself. It's that simple. And I'm sure that'll change in time, but right now I don't see it. Like this is who I am. I've seen the power of when it goes good and how you can change the lives of people around you. I've seen the good side of it. I've seen the bad side of that, but that good side is so damn addictive. Like, it's not like I want to have all the money in the world for the sake of just having that shit. It's like, nah, I want to go hard for this, obviously to spread the art and see the music itself grow. But there are so many people attached to what I'm doing that if it goes well, when it goes well, as it already has, like, that's life-altering shit. Like, that's like generations are taken care of. That's like, you know, my mom and dad don't gotta work no more. That's like all the homies could buy cribs and take care of their parents. That's the type of vision that I aim to achieve with what I'm doing. And that's why it means so much to me. And not that making art is a bad thing, because I agree with making art, but I know the depths to which I will dive to see this shit come to life. And I feel like that's where I feel like it can get a little toxic. Like, I know how obsessive I can get over this shit, but I also know how good I am at this too. And I know how well it works for me when I really dial in and lock in to the highest level. So that's where I do get a little nervous about that sometimes. Even sometimes talking to my parents, like I'm happy that they believe in what I'm doing, and I'm happy that they support what I'm ultimately creating for myself. But like, I can't help but think that like, even they hope this works out, because all the time, all the things that I've invested into this, all of the heartbreak, all of the tears I done cried over this shit, like, I know that they hope this works out too. Again, none of this is promised to any of us, but with that positive side of delusion, I wake up every day telling myself I'm the greatest motherfucker alive. I'm gonna make this work regardless. And I've ultimately accepted that there are a lot of things that I won't be able to be a part of right now within my life, but I'm okay with putting it on the back burner for an attempt to become one of the greatest of all time. If we bring back to self-love again, I feel like a lot of how I love myself is based on how successful I am in this. And I know it's not the healthiest and the most positive trait to embody, but a lot of who Kristen is tied to this music shit. And I feel like if it's compromised, I'm not myself. I'm working on that though. But a lot of who I am is built on my work. So when things aren't going right, it affects me top down, you know what I'm saying? And it is something I do want to work on, because I know that it has affected so many relationships that I wish I could just like, it's affected so many relationships I wish I could just still hold on to, that, you know, I wish, it's just so many people I wish were still around. I feel like I'm running out of time sometimes. Not like really running out of time, but like, who knows when this shit, when it's cut for me, you know what I'm saying? So I just try to use every day to the best of my ability. And I feel like it's a shitty motto, but we joke sometimes, I sleep when I'm dead. Obviously that's not the motto we should live by, like, but that's kind of the motif that I've been operating under. Like, I'll get a chance to take a break when it's time. Right now I gotta work. I just gotta live with everything that comes with the desire to just work. Funny enough, I came back to Jersey this weekend for an event, and this is probably the first time in a long time that I've had a chance to really like tap in with my family again and be around everybody. But normally it's just like, I'm working. And I want to get to that place too where I can disconnect And, I can disconnect and not have to live my life like this, but I can't even really help it too much. Like, to give you a perfect example, I came back from Thailand and I had a stomach virus and I shouldn't have been doing anything. I had a stomach virus for 2 weeks. I was bedridden badly. Mind you, I was bedridden. I want to put that out there. I was bedridden for 2 weeks. In that 2 week span, while I was bedridden, I had a chance to open up for a concert. Jidens Mino, I think it was like 1,500, 2,000 people in Nashville. And I was bedridden at the time. And I still got up and went and performed and did a really good job. And that just kept being a thing, because after that show, we ended up we ended up flying to LA from there to work on some other shit. It just doesn't stop for me. And I know how important it is to stop when you're about to burn out. But I just turned that shit off, you know what I'm saying? I came back to town one time and I remember getting my hair retwisted. I remember the shit like yesterday. I remember getting my hair retwisted. And the guy who do my hair, he used to do my grandma hair, and he told me, like, yo, you should go see your grandma. Like, you don't know how much it would do for her if you went to go see her. Like, even if the memory loss is there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Like, I'm gonna get my hair retwisted. I was like, I'm gonna get my hair retwisted and I'm gonna go finish this project. Cool, I'm gonna do it next time. I went to go play basketball later that week, moving minding my business. And I come back home and, it's quiet in the crib, trying to figure out where everybody at. Parents sitting at the kitchen table. And it was like, yo, man, it's really unfortunate, but like your grandmother passed away. And like, I cried. And I just was like, damn, like, I should have been present for that. Like, why wasn't I? But what was crazy about that whole shit? Interestingly enough, first thing I said to myself was, yo, I gotta go finish this project. And a week later, I'm back again, working on this project. So like, I don't know how to take those breaks a lot of time. And I know that's why a lot of the relationships I like may have lost suffered because of that. I aspire to be like you 100%. Like, I hope I can eventually reach that place to be able to step back and just like breathe for a minute. But I think it's my fear that if I take a break, I lose everything that ultimately motivates me to just keep going regardless of what's happening. I know how demanding I am when it comes to work, so I do try my best to be mindful of others. My dad told me that. He was like, yo, he jokingly said, man, I wouldn't want to work for your ass. And I laughed it off, but like, I knew what he meant. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying my best. Even the way I talk to people, I try my best. I try to work on how I talk to people, because I feel like the way I talk to people is rooted in like, yo, let's work. Like, let's work culture. I was an athlete growing up. So like, all I know is that. You know what I'm saying? Bad day, fuck it, cool. We gonna get it back tomorrow. Bad week, cool. It's all right. We gonna get it back next week. We had a bad run. I was a track athlete. I was a high jumper and a hurdler. All right, that race wasn't good. Cool, don't even trip. We got next week. We got a whole week to grind it out and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? That was always what it was. It was never like, oh, we had a shitty ass time. That's it. Nah, we got to figure this shit out. And that's how I feel like a lot of my mindset was structured around. And I am mindful of my team a lot of times. A lot of times I try to take on tasks as much as I can because I don't want to overload people. But I just got to pace myself. I don't pace myself. I pace myself how I tend to ask for people of certain things. I know it's not always the best, but again, I just know that with something as fleeting as this, if we lock in and just put the time in, like, it rewards us, as I've seen happen in real time. Like, I've seen what hard work will bring you, and I know with even more work, just more things become available. Some people plant trees to shade, they'll never feel. It's the idea that sometimes you have to be the person who goes out there and does all the hard work, and maybe you don't always reap the benefits within the time span that which you put the work in, but the next man will be able to. And I truly live my life like that. It's just like, bro, if I do this now, I do this hard work now, I might be burnt out like the fucking end, but I know everybody around me who was a part of this shit will be able to benefit from this. I know I'm gonna be able to benefit from this too, but it really is about pushing it forward and paying it forward. Same way my pops did type shit. Like, that's really the big thing to me. I do try my best though with my team, man. I know they probably see this and be like, yeah, that motherfucker be working this. But like, deep down, I just care. I'm really passionate. I'm really proud of what we're doing. There's a lot of pride that exists in me to want to be the greatest. And sometimes I have to balance that with, everyone's real life. Like, shout out, thank God for Miz, because Miz definitely do a really good job with helping me find that balance in the space of like working like crackheads to just like, hey, we gotta like chill a little bit because everybody is a little overworked. It do be a little difficult, but I'm finding a balance between it. But I'm not gonna lie, the guys work on me for the guys who are still present have been working on me for a very long time, and they kind of get the workflow. You know what I'm saying? They get the workflow, and I'm trying to create a healthier. I think it's healthy. I think it's a healthy environment as is. I think it's a healthier environment for everybody. I'm trying to create a healthier environment for myself, and I know if I do that for me, it'll trickle down into everybody else as well. But you know, again, day by day, for real. We had an idea and a vision for what we wanted to be, but we fucked it up. We could have been perfect. It's hard, bruh. But I know a lot of us have gone through relationships like that. It's not easy to get on a record and say like, yeah, like I was pursuing my dream, but I was dead broke trying to figure this shit out when it looked super good to everybody else. Like a lot of us go through that. And all it takes is one person. We all live, as many people as there are in the world, we're all living similar lives. I don't even know y'all, and I feel like we already connected in some way, shape, or form based on just this conversation alone. Like, we all have similar walks of lives, whether we're from Jersey, whether we're from Montreal, whether we're from Lagos, Nigeria, it doesn't matter. Like, there's all some levels of similarity. So I feel like as an artist, it is my responsibility to be honest and keep the authenticity of what I'm doing because there is someone out there in the world, whether I know them or not, they relate to. Like, God forbid somebody hit me and say, yo, you saved my life. That shit always gives me, because it's like, damn, I didn't know this was going to do that. But I just continue to keep putting my own message out there because I realize, like, it's greater than me. Just got to tell my story. I made a song one time. About just, you know, how I, you know, weave through depression one time. It was an outro on this project I called X-Files. Can't tell you how many people hit me up talking about, yo, I cried tears to that because you literally captured every single feeling I felt as I was in this teetering space of whether I commit to staying here or not. Like, damn, I didn't know we was all going through the same thing together. Got you. And I feel like with messages like that, that's what makes me want to keep doing this too. Like, it's like, yeah, I got to keep telling this story. As hard as it may be, I got to tell this story. Because a long time ago, I was a 6th grade kid listening to Lost Ones by Cole thinking like, yo, if I ever get into this point when I'm older, at least I got a reference point. At least I got something. So I just hope I can provide that for people moving forward in the future. I'd rather live a life full of mistakes knowing that I'm trying to get better than live a life of comfort and never know what it's like to actually experience the other side. Like, that is something that I truly, truly despise personally for myself. I don't want to live in a space where I don't know what's there. Like, if I fail, I fail. I'm cool with that, but at least I tried. I have to see it through to some extent. One of my favorite quotes I read recently from homie Russ, when it don't work, keep working. That's what I live by. Like, we gotta keep trying, keep outdoing the fear, and just keep being brave in these moments. It makes us better people. Fear will literally have you almost create ailments for yourself. Like, you ever seen people who have induced themselves sickness based on like things that they thought in their mind versus like what's actually going on? Like, that's a real thing. And I feel like what it does to the brain is creates a safety net. Every time you're about to jump in your brain, as long as there's a safety net there, you can take it. That's what fear is. I've kind of removed the safety net for myself, and I've just ultimately said, hey, whatever jump I'm gonna take, whether I fly or I crash at the bottom, it's a good jump. If I crash, I learn how to fly the next time. If I crash again, work it out. Eventually, it's gonna hit. But that's where I feel like, just the bravery in these moments has ultimately shaped me as a person. Like, we just gotta keep moving forward. I low-key kind of forgot what you was asking me, but I like that topic of just learning to be a hero in a space of cowardice. It's hard, but you gotta do it if you really wanna see things change for your life. To anybody who has a dream for real, understand that the world that you wish to create is always at your fingertips. There's never a moment where things are impossible. It's a day-by-day operation that requires the utmost commitment to see things come to life. I know it's like working out. You go to the gym the first day, it's lit. Second day is lit. Third day is lit. Fourth day you get in there, it's like, I don't know if I want to be here. It's those type of days that you have to stay committed on. Anything that you want in this world can be achieved with a straight focus. Also be aware, with the pursuit of the dream, everything that comes with it. There's a lot of highs that we see on the grams and the Twitters, but what they don't show you is that 90% of the journey is lows. Everything they don't show you, the hard ass days you gotta get out of bed, dealing with the failures, being rejected. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep going. If you have a dream and you truly, truly, truly want to see it come to life, block out the noise and just lock in.